Where were you when the inauguration was happening? Where'd you watch it? Who'd you watch it with? Some of your thoughts.
I've been traveling throughout Quebec, meeting with small business leaders and workers, and just basically sharing a Canada First plan. Let's put our country first for a change. We've had for the last 9 years a weak government that has put our country in this position of vulnerability. They've doubled our debt. They've hiked the taxes. They've blocked key resource projects that have made us, as a result, more dependent on and at the mercy of the United States government. What we need is a bring-it-home economic tax cut that's going to leave more money in the pockets of entrepreneurs, investors, workers, home builders, so that we can have a stronger economy and stand on our own 2 feet for a change.
And doing that, obviously, you want Canada first. You want to help entrepreneurs, and we've talked to a lot who want to enter into the U.S., but they're kind of skeptical right now with these potential tariffs. So if elected as prime minister down the line, whenever that election is, what would your strategy be to work with President Trump?
Your lottery dreams could be that much closer with Direct Pay at OLG.
Well, first and foremost, we would unfortunately and reluctantly have to retaliate against tariffs applied to our businesses. And then we would go to the grassroots American economic interests that are on our side. The union leaders and business owners in the Midwest that use Canadian energy. We would go to the U.S. states that buy our electricity, the major exporters of the $50 billion of manufacturing equipment and machinery that Canadian companies buy from Americans. We go to those vendors and say, listen, we need a free trade deal that allows us to exchange our goods and services without tariffs because it's in your interest. And that kind of pressure from the ground up will, I think, help convince President Trump to make a deal that will be both good for Canada and the United States. He is, after all, a deal maker.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it seems like, Premier Doug Ford seems to be taking the forefront here. He's talks about his project AmCam. The premiers met with, outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. They were all there in Ottawa, minus the Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith, was in Mar-a-Lago. She's seemingly not wanting to sign this deal with the rest of the premiers. She wants to protect the oil in Alberta. How do you make sure everyone's copacetic? Everyone, you talked about Canada first. How do you work with the premiers right now to make sure they're all on the same page?
Well, you need a strong prime minister for that. Can you name one governor that's been leading the charge on the American side of this?
No.
No, because the states, the separate states, are not all speaking different messages. They have one strong, nationally elected leader with a new mandate. And on this side, we have a weak, effectively former prime minister who's thoroughly discredited and widely unpopular. He has no credibility with anyone. And then you have a squabbling group of other liberals fighting for political power. That's left a vacuum. So effectively, we have 10 foreign ministers in the form of premiers who are all running around saying different things. What we need is a axe the tax election now so we can elect a strong government that will take back control. Yes, take back control of overspending and taxes, inflation, immigration, all of that, but also take back control of our diplomatic stance and go to Washington with strength to put Canada first. And that is what I will do as soon as we get the election done.
You talk about the tax, the carbon tax election. It seems like people who are throwing their names in a leadership race, whether it's Mark Carney or Chrystia Freeland, who CTV News has learned that, she's not going to have the carbon tax reportedly a part of her platform.
You sure about that?
Well, we'll see. We'll have to see. She came in here and we chatted with her. But do you feel like you might have to adjust, pivot a little bit the message? Maybe not an axe the tax, maybe switch it to something else, or you're not buying. You're shaking your head. You're not buying that.
You're telling me. So let's start with Freeland.
Yeah.
She's been Justin Trudeau's finance minister, administering the carbon tax. She raised the carbon tax by 167%. She bragged that she raised the carbon tax during an inflation crisis. And then you have carbon tax Carney. This guy says the carbon tax is too low. And yesterday, he just won the endorsement of the crazy carbon tax minister, Stephen Guilbeault, who has said he would resign from the Liberal Party if they ever got rid of the carbon tax, which means that Carney has made a deal with him that they will pretend that the carbon tax has been put aside until after the election. And then if they win, not only will they bring it back, they will raise it higher than ever before. These are lying Liberals. They cannot be trusted when they come to you after raising the tax for 9 years and having passed a law to quadruple it up to 61 cents a liter. A few days before the election, come to you and say, oh, whoops, we made a mistake. We're going to suspend that. You know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to bring it back. They're going to raise it higher than ever. Don't trust the lying Liberals. There's only one party that has always said and will always do one thing: axe the tax.
All right, let's go back to D.C. right now. Obviously, on his first day on the job, President Trump signed an executive order, the U.S. government only recognizing two genders, male, female. They're unchangeable. If elected as prime minister, is that something that you're going to kind of walk in line with, or what are your feelings on that executive order?
Well, I don't know. Do you have any other genders that you'd like to name?
Me personally?
Yes.
I'm just asking more so if you're in line with what he is saying. Do you agree with what he's saying? Is that something that you would be lockstep with if elected as prime minister?
Running your business can feel like a jungle, overwhelming and scary, but you just need the right.
Well, I'm not aware of any other genders than men and women. I mean, if you have any other that you want me to consider, you're welcome to tell me right now.
Well, there's personally, I am a man. I am as people who say cis man. There are people there who they say they're gender neutral. Well, you are a man. Yes, there are people out there who say they're gender neutral. Yeah, they say they're gender neutral. They're a trans person. Is that something that you would recognize here, whereas in the States, at least with their U.S. government, the way they're seeing it, there's only two?
I'm only aware of two, but I mean, if you come up with another list, then you're welcome to do that. But I'm aware of two, and as far as I'm concerned, we should have a government that just minds its own damn business and leaves people alone to make their own personal decisions. That's the kind of government I'm going to run.
And with that, the current government, they currently have passports that allow people to put on, gender neutral on their passport. Advocate groups want the government, mind you, the outgoing government, to ask the U.S., would the U.S. recognize these passports, obviously on their way out, if you are the next prime minister? Is that something that you would advocate for?
I have to be honest.
Yeah.
I have to be honest with you. I just saw your segment on homeless encampments that are popping up all over Toronto. We've got 25% of our population in poverty. Housing costs have doubled. Crime is rampaging through our streets. I just find it to be a strange priority to spend time talking about this. My priority is to give people back control of their lives, bring back Canada's promise that anyone who works hard gets a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods. That's the promise we need for Canadians. If Liberals want to talk about different labels for gender that they want to put on passports in the United States, they can do that. I'm going to talk about the things that will bring home Canada's promise.
Okay. And you know what? Let's talk about housing, because I'm not upper middle class. I don't even know what I am right now, but making ends meet for a lot of people is very hard. So we understand some of your plan for housing, giving incentives for municipalities to building such. Canada's massive. A lot of our population is by the border. Is there anything we could? This is something I've thought about, just driving around Canada, specifically in BC going north. Yeah. There's a lot of land out there. Is there something that, if elected as prime minister, could be implemented that we can start building more homes, like elsewhere, places where there's really not much infrastructure built right now?
Yes, this is a very good question. First of all, I just want to get out of the way one thing. I want to axe the sales tax on new homes to save you up to $50,000. I also want to incentivize municipalities to speed up permits, free up land, and cut development charges to build. The provinces should be pressured to take their sales tax off. Those combined changes would save hundreds of thousands of dollars on each home. But you're right. We have the second biggest landmass in the world. We have the fifth most sparsely populated landmass on planet Earth. and yet we have the fewest homes per capita in the G7. We need to free up that land. Now, the federal government is the largest landowner, so I've said I'm going to sell off 15% of all federal buildings and thousands of acres of non-ecologically sensitive federal land to build. And I will be challenging provinces and municipalities to look at their land inventory and say, what could we put here? Is there room for a home? We have major parts of our land that are close to the 49th parallel, so very close to the United States, and a lot of economic opportunity that are almost uninhabited. We need to free up that land to build more homes as well. So that's how we're going to do it. Get out of the way, cut the taxes, let the builders build.
All right, fellow Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, I wish we had an hour, 2 hours to talk. Unfortunately, our time is wrapped up, but I'm sure we'll see a lot of you. I do appreciate it. Thanks so much. Talk soon.